That's a cool machine, but can it hill climb? Yeah, so I sometimes think about, uh, you know, techno punk Christ, techno punk Jesus, or techno trad, or techno tradism. So you take your trad, whatever your thing is, the metaphysics of your trad, from whatever period of history and context, and then you add all this technology to it, which is what we obviously are doing. And then you dress it all up nice in its own kind of techno punk trad. And so if Jesus comes back at the end of days, does Jesus have a Tao? Or is he a local phenomena only in Jerusalem or some other place, only for certain kinds of people? Or does he start his own Tao? Does he have a token, a Jesus token or something like that? Does he use the internet, the YouTubes, to get his message out there? Or is it just all magic, or is it just all, in your soul type of thing? You know, it's interesting. Does anyone know any book like that, or like graphic novel about techno Jesus or techno trad Jesus? I'm gonna have to see if they have that. Yeah, cyberpunk King Arthur. Long Twitter threads from cyberpunk Jesus. Max Headroom, that guy. And like in the electronosphere, just kind of ubiquitous, hovering about in the electronic noise. Pareidolia. Everybody can have their own special trad techno punk Jesus. You just look at the electronic noise and you just formulate it. Or it has to be interpreted by a priesthood of elders, presbyters, priests, philosophers, philosopher kings, telling you exactly what to make of all the noise, the techno-punk Jesus noise. Salvation, transcendence, other worlds, utopian visions, protopian visions. All of this, of course, in the context of a super fight between good and evil, the underworld. The deluded, the pathological, the insane, the mad, brainwashed, progressive masses. I mean, where does this fit in, man? You're just like a barefoot farmer a couple hundred years ago, going about your business, trying to feed yourself and your family, obeying the rules so that you don't get hung. And there's so much meaning because, you go to church, so it's super meaningful, even though you don't understand the Latin Mass. But we're all walking encyclopedias now. We all know so much. We're all so smart. We're so brilliant. We have so much information and information technology. We're all critical thinkers. So what happens when techno-punk Jesus comes down and lays down the law? How do we know he's the real deal? Because we don't want to use rationalism or lines of evidence or radio waves. You've just got to look into your heart and understand. Somebody has to tell you what's right and what's wrong. That's what you want. That's what we all want, right? For someone to tell us what's right and what's wrong so that we know how to behave, what to do, what's manly, what's not manly, what's sacred, what's not sacred, what's heroic and not heroic, what we can take pride in. Or you just figure that out for yourself. Solipsism or radical individualism, freedom, whatever you think goes. Either or kind of stuff. In this context, 2023, with a incredibly destructive war going on, where I live, Spain, Portugal, Iberian Peninsula, they're preparing. The government is saying we have to get ready for the fires, for the heat waves. We have to prepare. We have to get ready because it's coming. All the models predict it. What models, man? Where do we get that data? How do we model that? What kind of mathematics do we use to figure out the probabilities? And so on. God's will. Just the way it has to be, It's the way things are. And there's such a deeper meaning behind the droughts and the flash floods and the flash freezes. Oh my God. We have to prepare because this is the predicament we find ourselves in now. And we don't know how to change or what to do. We're just going to go through this stuff. I can imagine in the future there's going to be cyberpunk Jesus on the blockchain with his own token. It's not going to be tethered to anything because it's going to be the truth token, the absolute truth token. And people get involved with that. That won't be a cult. Not to the people within it. Christopher Hitchens can go crazy on North Korea. But it's North Korea, man. What, you want all North Korea to be like you, Hitch? Or we say human beings have the potential to use their brains, to think rationally, logically, to learn how to use various tools, figure things out. I have a vision of what my cabin should be like. I've imagined it. I've drawn up plans. I've thought things through. And now I'm going to make progress every day building that thing. And at the end of the day, it's going to be really nice, but it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to have to improve it over time and maintain it. And when somebody else moves in after I'm gone, they're going to shift it all around, muddle it all up, mess it all up, and make it their own. Oh my God. And also we're going to preserve some of the churches in Venice. Preserve some of the artwork, the history, the books, the traditions, the music, because we like it. It's not river dance, it's real trad Irish dancing from whatever period of history you want to take that trad Irish clogging from. Sacrilege. River dance isn't Irish dancing. The guy's from Chicago. Has a really good Irish accent. Flamenco guitar versus modern flamenco. Ooh, modern flamenco, oh my God. I think people are gonna preserve things because they're beautiful, because they have value, intrinsic value, or maybe they just have value to some people. And then other people are going to riff on it. They're gonna create something new from it. Oh, all the best rock and roll music was from the 70s. That's not rock and roll. 50s, man. Chuck Berry. No, man. No. Def Leppard. I don't even know what modern pop music or rock music is. I'm so out of touch. I'm gonna die and then somebody's gonna come up with some other stuff. And I won't even be able to lament or fret or mourn the passing of Led Zeppelin into the abyss. How could you not preserve Led Zeppelin LPs, man? Cyberpunk Jesus comes back and says, that ain't music. This is music. Gregorian chants. The lute, harpsichord. Wagner versus Mozart. It's a conundrum. Look, there's a Burger King over there. The whole world's been Americanized. Pizza Hut, Burger King, what the hell's going on? Where's my trad, beautiful Portuguese people stepping on grapes in their bare feet? Why aren't they fishing like they used to? How can we preserve fisheries? Oh no, we're gonna have to have artificial fish, lab-grown, petri dish fish. Tastes great, very nutritious. Can't tell the difference. People are worried, man. The singularity, are we going to be human in 50 years? Are we going to be around in 50 years? In the meantime, got to make ends meet somehow. Got to put your money into the new gold or the old gold or bond ladders, stocks. Figure out a way, or go build a quinta in northern Portugal somewhere, or in Alentejo. Live off the land. Write your own music. Build your own guitar. Craftsmanship. Learn from a mentor. No, not one on YouTube. The guy in the village. What answers are you going to come up with? What's Cyberpunk Jesus going to tell you? Or in the depths of your prayers, what does Cyberpunk Jesus tell you? Is it all satanic? Are we all possessed by evil forces? This, in some ways, the ideology behind the Russian thing at the moment comes from these ideas that traditional Russian-ness is special, unique, deep, meaningful. It comes from a time and a place and blah, blah, blah. Of course, you have to go back and say, when did that start? So I want to ask, when did modernism start? And when does it end? So at what point in history, based on, the evidence or stories, just stories, anecdotes, oral traditions, did modern Rus, or whatever you want to call it, old traditional trad Rus start? What are we trying to preserve? I can really understand why people are pissed off that the United States is bullying everyone all the time. It's getting old, you know? Americanization. But a lot of people just like that. They want freedom and autonomy, emancipation. They want to be individuals, even though a lot of that's just an illusion. We're not individuals, but we are individuals. Can you be both? Part of a collective, part of a society, a culture, a family, and still be an individual? Or if you don't know your place, are you really out of place? Dad's at the head of the family. Mom's doing her bit. The older brother does his bit. I'm the youngest. I do my bit. It's been that way for hundreds of years. But it isn't always like that, is it? Things shift around. So if something takes 10,000 years to change, is it more trad? Is it more natural in an evolutionary sense, or whatever sense you want to say? And if it changes like every year, fast fashion, is it less? Materialism is a thing. All these are things people are thinking about now. I never noticed them thinking about it in 2005. It's coming to a head because it's starting to seem like the thing that we've taken for granted during our lifetimes. And if you want to read history, you can go back to the beginning of the 20th century or the 19th century and make comparisons. But what we've taken for granted all these years is unstable. Maybe it's not the thing. People talked about alienation. You know, you have old existentialism, Soren Kierkegaard, and you have being in nothingness, Jean-Paul Sartre, and you have the happy death, Albert Camus, and all these different existentialisms. I'm responsible for myself and my happiness. But also it helps when I have relationships and I'm healthy because of my circumstances. Like Albert Camus, it's kind of hard to be totally happy when you're fighting Nazis. There are issues there. All these different things. And people, you know, whether you are a rationalist, Leibniz, Kant, Spinoza, Descartes, and you think about autonomous rationality, reason, you can figure things out just by yourself in your mind. Can you really? What is your mind? And let's not talk neuroscience now and brain chemistry. Too complicated. But there are a lot of things we can sort out rationally. It's a thing. And you can dissect Thomas Aquinas like crazy. Be a scholar just on his thing. And you can critique it, compare and contrast. Theology. But the thing is, all these things are there. So if you say you can't be this, that, or the other thing because it doesn't work, it's antithetical to existence or being human, there's a huge contradiction there, because obviously it is human. We're talking about it. Dolphins, as far as we know, don't talk about it. Whales don't talk about it as far as we know. Octopi don't talk about it as far as we know. Octopuses. octopussies. Are we always a hive mind when we're part of a culture, a trad culture? And we're afraid of the outsider? We're burning heretics, torturing people, Spanish Inquisition. Some people were just naturally slaves, you know. We have other labor-saving devices now called robots, integrated circuits. We have different kinds of memory now. Machines. It's a thing, and it's ubiquitous in our world. We are in it. The only way through is through. And so we will have to deal with these circumstances, these discussions every day. And if you don't have to, if your life is simple, you're lucky. Don't worry about it. Get on with it. Do what you gotta do. When the thug comes over and asks you for an extra Mickey Finn or an extra $50, a few extra Benjamins for protection, you scrape it together and tighten your belt. That's what Uncle Sam's asking you to do day in and day out. And it may not be worth it to beg to differ with Uncle Sam. He's much more powerful than you are. And if it weren't Uncle Sam, it would be some kind of king telling you how it is. Because they have divine rights, or maybe they don't. They're just all that. A wise king, a philosopher king, let's say, who just happens to be able to get all the best people in his corner supporting him and his agenda because he is a philosopher king. That kind of republic, or maybe not. Democracy, ain't that thing? Democ-assy, flee dumb. How free is free? I always want to know just how free Ayn Randians feel, or radical libertarians feel. If they just had all the power to do what they want to do and nobody messed with them. Would nobody mess with them? Law, rule of law, bureaucracy. Would nobody mess with you? Would you be the guy in the game show that would go out and ransack the other team's camp? Because the name of the game is to get them out of here so I can win $1 million. What do you think happened when the Scythians and the Mongolian hordes and the Manchurians and, whatever, were marauding all over the place? The Assyrians, the Hittites, Egyptian chariots galloping across the deserts, massacres, enslavement. It's just a part of the human story, but we're going to have to deal with all that now because it's part and parcel of who each and every one of us are. And it's also, we can't divorce ourselves from this time in history. You can have various types of historical perspectives, historicisms, but the fact remains, let's just pick an arbitrary number. March 20th, 2023, year of our Lord, AD, Common Era. And I'm using this little camera here to chat to you. And I'm going to put it up on the YouTube You'll be able to see it on your device. It's magic. It's physics. It's quantum. It's amazing. Who figured that shit out? How many hundreds of years of ignorant peasants did we have to go through? Thousands of years before we got a Copernicus or a Newton or an Einstein or a David Bohm or a this or that. And Abraham Lincoln in a different domain. It took a long time, but today, how many David Bohm-esque geniuses are walking around on the planet? March 20, 2023, Common Era. Pick a number. Characterize it as you will. There's tons of smart people out there, man, who can think these things through, who can do the math, do the physics, do the engineering, draw up the plans, figure out the load-bearing capacity of various materials under various circumstances. So you can build your moon base, moon tourism, launch rockets every 5 minutes, clean up the space junk, because we need space junk. Otherwise, we don't have the YouTubes. What are you going to do? Where is cyberpunk Jesus? Where do we put our money, our faith? Where do we invest our time and energy, our will to power? Do we do it on the, how does one say in English? On the farm? Anyway, someone's calling. Luliam T, temporarily out.